All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this career coaching open house. I am really looking forward to walking you through what career coaching is, who would benefit from experiencing it. You're going to learn a little bit more about me and how career coaching works, what services I offer, and what kinds of problems career coaching can help you solve. At the end of this presentation, we're going to have a special gift for folks who stay till the end, and I'm also going to do some Q&A. Our official end time is at the top of the hour, but I will try to stick around until every question is answered. But first, I want to share with you a stat that may or may not surprise you. And that is that 39% of millennials describe themselves as being in a midlife crisis. And if a midlife crisis, just by definition, is a realization that your life is misaligned with your needs and values. And that's also paired with an awareness of how much time has passed or how much time is left. And that realization can happen at any time, not just at midlife. And so this organization, Thriving Center of Psychology, which is a therapist matching platform, conducted a survey of over 1,000 millennials, which they just defined as people aged between 28 and 43, and found that 39% of them thought they were in a midlife crisis. And then 30% of the respondents said that they had been in a quarter life crisis in their 20s. And so nearly 70% of respondents said that they had either been had either had in the past or were presently experiencing some sort of midlife crisis. Now, whether you are a millennial or not, if you would consider yourself in a midlife crisis or not, there's something really important to learn here about the biggest sources of life dissatisfaction. Now, this is from the same survey. These are the top 10 reasons that survey respondents said that they or other people in their generation would do to deal with a midlife crisis. And it's not surprising to me that switching careers is number one and attending therapy is number two. And so why do you think that might be? Your career has a huge impact on your quality of life. We spend nearly a third of our lives at work. It determines our schedule. It depends on where we can live. It determines who we can spend time with. It determines whether we can afford to be financially secure, what kind of enjoyment we can afford to have, and how often. And because of this, when work isn't working, it has a massively negative impact on our mental health, and it can massively interfere with other aspects of our lives. And so it's not surprising to me that the survey respondents said that the number one thing that they expected out of a midlife crisis was a career change. But let's look at this list one more time. Here's my hypothesis. You spend a third of your life at work. You spend the other 2/3 with either your partner, if you're nested, and you spend all of that time with yourself. And so if you look at the areas where midlife crisis change is expected, they are impacted in some way by your relationship with work, your relationship with your partner, or your relationship with yourself. And so two of the most powerful investments that you can make in your happiness is career coaching and therapy, because career coaching helps you with your relationship with work. Therapy helps you with your relationship with your partner, and both of them help you with your relationship with yourself. Now, people tend to be pretty familiar with therapy. I'm really glad that it's been basically completely normalized. Even if they haven't experienced it themselves, everybody kind of knows what therapy is. But people are much less familiar with career coaching, even though it's been around since the 80s or even earlier. But just like therapy is meant to help us manage our mental and emotional health better and solve mental and emotional problems, career coaching is meant to help us manage our career and our professional health better and to solve career and professional problems better. So I'm not a career coach. I am a career coach. I am not a therapist. I love therapy, love therapists, but that's not where my jam is. My jam is career coaching. If you think you need a therapist instead of or in addition to coaching, I will take a moment to shout out my favorite tool for finding a therapist, which is inclusivetherapists.com. But our goal here today is to help you understand how career coaching can help you find or regain alignment in your career. We're going to cover all the points that you see here. And by the end of this presentation, you're going to know whether it makes sense for you to get career coaching, whether to give it a shot, or whether you should do it with me. And so I want to take a really quick moment to introduce myself, just in case you're new to me, not so familiar with me. My name is Phoebe Gavin. I'm a career and leadership coach. I've been coaching professionally since 2020. And in the 5 years since I opened my practice, I have created hundreds of hours of career coaching content and supported over 1,000 professionals in their career transition. Coaching is the most joyful and fulfilling work I've ever done. It is absolutely my calling, but it did take me some time to figure that out. My professional hometown is journalism. I started in the media business in 2014. And throughout my time as a newsroom leader, I was coaching and mentoring and sponsoring people on my team, in my company, in my industry, and in my local community. I also directly trained recruiters who were responsible for finding the great talent out in the world to bring into our organizations. And I still found time to teach a course at George Washington University on the way. Prior to that, I worked in nonprofits despite getting a degree in fashion. And so I have a lot of personal experience with big career transitions, but my story actually starts here. I grew up low income. My mom was a career cleaner and my dad was a plumber, and they weren't going to be able to send me to college. And so I joined military to pay for school. And this was during the Iraq War. I spent 15 months there, and it was, shocker, not a great time. But when I came back to the US, like many veterans, I was very much struggling with my mental health. It was a pretty dark time for me, but I got really lucky that I just so happened to get connected with a veteran who was much farther along in his transition journey. And his mentorship literally saved my life. He contacted me, he connected me with mental health resources and made connections that helped me get established professionally. And I will eternally be grateful for his support because he set me on a path of health, of professional success, and on a personal mission of helping others rise as I climbed professionally as well. And so if we fast forward to 2019, I'd been casually giving career advice to people for years, but I was starting to get kind of dissatisfied with my own again. I'd been promoted into a director level role in my newsroom at the time. I was on the executive track and I should have been so jazzed about it, but my corporate career just wasn't feeling right anymore. And there were a lot of days where I felt bored, unmotivated, unheard, underappreciated. So I actively started designing my own career pivot. I journaled, I read books, I took courses, I daydreamed, but most importantly, I talked to people. And one fateful brunch with a really good friend, she totally dropped an anvil on my head. You spend all of this time coaching people. You love it. Why don't you just do that? You know you can do that for work, right? It was hilarious because she noticed a through line through my entire career had been training, coaching, and supporting people into success, and that I would probably enjoy making that the center of my professional life. And she was completely right. But I had no idea where to start. And so even though I'd helped so many people with these same problems and solved these problems before in my career, I just needed some help with this transition. And so I got a coach for myself to help me learn how to build my coaching practice. It is okay to need help. And if I hadn't gotten help, it would have been much harder and taken much longer for me to build the career of my dreams, which is helping other people build their dream careers. And that's where I am today. So as I've mentioned before, I've been coaching professionally for 5 years, in addition to the 10 years of mentorship and sponsorship I did in my corporate career. I've supported over 1,000 clients in one-on-one coaching, group coaching, career skills workshops, and boot camps. And in response to the needs of my clients, I've developed over 250 career coaching lessons, which live in my Patreon exclusive course library. And of course, I routinely publish my favorite tips and strategies on my free newsletter, my social media, and in the articles I've been cited in online. But I think my proudest moment is my appearance in a Netflix documentary on anxiety called Take Your Pills. Those are my 2 dogs, by the way, Pterodactyl and Pandora. Shout out to my fellow fur mamas. In any case, I'm really grateful to have your trust today and to talk you through what career coaching is and how it can help you have a more balanced and fulfilled professional life. So that is enough about me. Let's talk about career coaching. Let's talk about you and whether career coaching is right for you. We're going to answer these 4 questions. What is career coaching? What problems can career coaching solve? Who is career coaching right for and who it is not right for? And then at the end, we'll discuss what kind of services are available for me and how they help. Now, while therapy has penetrated the public consciousness, thank goodness, I am very, very, very pro therapy. Personal development coaching in general and career coaching specifically are fairly new to the cultural conversation. And a lot of people either have no idea what it is or oversimplify it. And so certainly career coaching can get your resume or your cover letter in better shape. It can improve your interview skills. It can help you get a better salary and speed up your job search. But career coaching is more than that. good career coaching goes way deeper than these more tactical and frankly kind of Googleable career questions. When career coaching is really, really good, when it's transformational, not just transactional, it gets into the basement and it starts opening up all the boxes and start asking deeper questions. And so we are not going to be doing band-aid fixes on your career if you do decide to work with me. Instead, we're going to be getting to the roots of these issues so that we can solve the current problem, but also prevent future problems so that your career works for you in the future as well. And so we're asking questions like, who are you as a professional? What is your relationship to that identity, your identity as a professional? What are your big picture life goals, and how does your career currently support or fail to support those goals? What kinds of shifts would help you have a better relationship with your identity as a professional? What kinds of shifts would have your career give as much to your life as it takes away? What kinds of lessons were you taught by your family of origin or culture of origin that are making things harder for you in this professional moment? What kinds of coping mechanisms might help you deal with stress or anxiety or insecurity better so that you can be more clear-headed in your career transition, in your job search, in your day-to-day work, and in your day-to-day life? What kinds of practices would help you feel more confident about your capabilities and your goals? So yes, career coaching is tactical. It is about resumes and cover letters, but it's also much deeper than that. And so you might ask, that kind of sounds like therapy. And the answer is yes, it does sound like therapy, because there is a lot of overlap between coaching and therapy. In both cases, we're dealing with concepts that you see on the slide here. But because you're just as human in your professional life as you are in your personal life, all of these things show up in your careers too. In particular, anxiety, insecurity, burnout, boundaries, and confidence are huge in career coaching. And we work really hard to unlock clarity, unlock possibilities, unlock action, develop skills for clients who are otherwise feeling very lost, very overwhelmed, who are despairing about their professional future, or just feeling stuck and not really sure how to take action. And so let's spend a little bit of time talking about the difference between therapy and coaching, because a lot of people wonder what the difference is. And we're also going to talk a little bit about why therapists, as much as I love them, are not good career coaches. So I want to have you take a second to look at this graph, because it really demonstrates the difference between coaching and therapy, at least the way that I explain it to people. We have inner work and we have outer work. So thoughts and feelings versus words and deeds. And then we have past focus versus future focus. So what happened to you in the past versus what you want to happen to you in the future. Therapy primarily deals with how your past informs your present and how it shapes your thoughts and feelings. And the goal of therapy is to help you come to terms with the past so that you can have a better present and a better future. It's very important, essential healing work. Coaching, on the other hand, is very much about the future. It is action-oriented. It is focused on what you can do right now to set yourself up for a better future. In coaching, we work in all four of the quadrants that you see here: past-focused, future-focused, inner work, outer work. But we're going to spend most of that time in that top left quadrant, where we're focused on future-focused, outer work, what you can do today to get where you want to go. And so it's less about how does that make you feel, which is very therapy, to what are we going to do about that? That is coaching. And so therapy can be kind of a frustrating place to work on career challenges because it is so very focused on your inner world. And your inner world is very important. But in order to improve your work experience, you often need to make tangible changes like changing jobs, asserting boundaries, negotiating a pay raise. Therapists aren't usually trained to give that sort of tactical advice on those sorts of topics. They're trained to help you process your emotions. They're trained to help you resolve trauma, which is important work, but it's very different work. Additionally, most therapists don't have corporate experience. They're in school for 6 to 10 years, often with an emphasis on marriage, children, families. They work in solo or group practices, maybe in a clinic or a hospital or a school, but they probably have never looked at a resume, certainly not from the perspective of a recruiter or a hiring manager. They've probably never written a performance review. They may not have even ever sat through a job interview. So they can help you process how being passed over for a promotion might make you feel, but they're not not going to be able to provide actionable advice on addressing that with your boss so that it doesn't happen again. So if you want different outcomes in your inner life or in your personal life, a therapist is a great choice and definitely a place where you should explore. But if you want different outcomes in your professional life, a coach with practical experience in training and career strategy is probably better suited to get you to your goal. And so let's talk about what that actually looks like in coaching. So there is a coaching quadrant. And it's not to say though that we work exclusively in the coaching quadrant. We work in all 4 quadrants. We just work mostly in the coaching quadrant. And if we're elsewhere, it's in service of that coaching work. And so we have to start with some reflection, some past focused outer work to understand how you got to where you are now in your career. Where do you feel like you made the right moves? Where do you feel like you kind of wish you may have done something different? And why do you feel that way? We also do need to do some sort of therapy-ish stuff where it's past focused inner work. We want to understand how those events and choices shaped the way that you see yourself or see your possibilities. We want to understand if there's anything going on upstairs that will make it harder for you to take constructive action toward your goals. And if they're bringing up any thoughts or feelings that are ultimately keeping you stuck in your current career situation. That information is basically the foundation of our understanding for who you are as a person and as a professional in service of helping us figure out what needs to happen to get you to a place where things are better. Then we switch to the coaching quadrant, future focus, outer work, getting out there to do stuff. What should your goals be right now? What kind of strategy is going to get you there? What kinds of day-to-day actions will create forward movement for you? And what needs to change for you to get unstuck? Now, once we have that action plan, we tend to bounce between coaching and mindfulness, that more future-focused inner work, thoughts and feelings like anxiety, resentment, overwhelm, insecurity. Those come up sometimes, and if they are preventing action and getting you stuck again, then we want to talk about those. How can we resolve that so that you can get back to taking action and making progress? And we absolutely work in all 4 quadrants, but again, it is in service of helping you do good outer work, things that help you move toward the professional future you want. So it's very action-oriented, very future-focused, but in order to help you take the right actions and to know what the right future for you looks like. And so we still have to figure out, who you are, understand how you think, but it really is in service of getting you to that future that you want. So good coaching is in all 4 quadrants. And I want to show you an example from a real client. I want to tell you about Kat. Kat was in a dead-end job where she was overworked, she was underpaid, and she was disrespected by her colleagues and supervisors. Now, she liked her industry, but she wanted better pay, she wanted better work-life balance, and a kinder, more respectful company culture. And to get that, to get her into a better job, we had to spend time in all 4 quadrants. So in the reflection quadrant, we started with the obvious question of how did you get here? And Kat shared that she'd often made career decisions from fear and from desperation. She'd take the first job that came her way. She wouldn't negotiate because she'd be afraid that they'd take the offer away. And the result was that she would end up with jobs that were a poor fit for her and much lower compensation than she deserved. And over time, those decisions built up to where her career just was nowhere where she wanted it to be. Her anxiety also weakened her work boundaries in terms of both time and what kind of treatment she would tolerate from her colleagues and supervisors. And so she ended up in a cycle where she would take the first job, end up really unhappy, start looking, and then take the first job again. And so our more therapy-ish quadrant, we identified that anxiety and insecurity that were driving this cycle that she was stuck in and negatively impacting her job search as well was keeping her from taking the right actions and sometimes keeping her from taking action at all. And that foundation helps us clarify her goals for the next job and put together an action plan that addressed both the outer tactical challenges of getting the job, resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn, networking, but also the inner emotional challenges of managing the anxiety and the insecurity so that she would actually apply for the jobs that she was qualified for, so that she would show up to those interviews with confidence. Now, another step there was mindfulness. Now, I know I would have to coach her through her anxiety and say, I know you're feeling nervous about sending in this application. How can we change the inner narrative so that you can be brave and hit the submit button? So outer work, about doing things, but also inner work about understanding yourself and changing the way that you react to your emotions. Now, we had our action plan. We tackled her anxiety and her insecurity. We were making sure to check in on that at every stage so she could take consistent, imperfect action, but she got more skilled, she got more confident, she got more brave with every single one of those steps. And it wasn't just a, hey, let's look up your resume and zhuzh up your LinkedIn profile. We really spent time in all four quadrants to get her into not just any new job, but the right new job. And that's the power of getting help that goes beyond the basic Googleable stuff, like whether your resume should be 1 page or 2. By the way, it doesn't actually matter that much. It's actually really about diving really deeply into who you are as a person and as a professional. What are your career goals? How do they align with the life that you want to live? What actions will move you toward your desired future? What's going to keep you stuck? And how can we proactively avoid those obstacles or set you up to handle those obstacles more effectively? That is what good career coaching is all about. So the first step in career coaching is identifying the key problems that you want to solve. And there can be multiple. For most clients who come into my virtual office, they have quite a few things on their list. But here we see some of the most common problems people come to career coaching with. The problem Kat and I tackled was a stalled job search. And the most common issue in career coaching is a stalled job search. In fact, about 70% of my clients are actively looking for job search support as their primary goal. However, career coaching can address many other issues and often needs to resolve the job search issue. So take a second to read through this list. Do any of these problem statements resonate with you? If so, career coaching might be something you want to consider. All of these problem statements are places where I've successfully helped clients. Now, all of these problem statements also benefit from a mix of the inner work and the outer work, the past focus and the future focus. And so just because you have a challenge that career coaching can address doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good candidate for career coaching, at least not with me. And so let's talk about the difference between clients who tend to be very successful in resolving these problems in coaching and those who tend to struggle, even if they have everything inside them necessary to be successful. So coaching is not a magic wand, and I am not a wizard. I would like to be, but I am not. Coaching is a partnership between me and the client. So as the coach, I bring skills, expertise, experience, and a neutral perspective that is only invested in your happiness. And you as the client have to bring your challenges, but also your willingness to put in the work, to try new things, to explore, to experiment, and take action regularly. And so if we both show up with our respective contributions, it will lead to a successful coaching relationship. However, there are some situations where clients exhibit characteristics on the right side of the slide. They might be sort of very stuck in their way of thinking, completely focused on all the external factors, and certainly external factors can be a real issue. Sometimes they are unwilling to take responsibility for their own contributions to the situation, or they're unable or unwilling to take action on the action plan that we put together. Now, these clients tend to either resist the coaching process or just really struggle to take action consistently enough to see results. And so during initial consultations with a potential client, I am listening for the signs of this sort of suboptimal mindset. And I'm trying to see, is it something that we can work on first so that the coaching experience can be successful for this client? Are they open to the process and open to taking action consistently? And if I see that somebody's really committed to that more suboptimal headspace, really committed to that way of thinking, I know I won't be able to help them achieve results, and I decline to work with them, and I encourage them to find resources elsewhere. I am not going to take your money if I can't help you. Rigid thinking is probably the biggest no-go, because coaching is about finding new approaches to solving the problem, which requires letting go of the old way that wasn't working that led you to my virtual office in the first place. Another one that's really important to focus on in the coaching process for it to be very successful is an external focus. External focus is a no-go, because if you don't believe that you can succeed unless external factors change, I have really bad news for you, because you can only control what you think, say, and do. And so this is why folks who aren't in a place where they can take responsibility for the ways that they contribute to their own situation are a bit of a no-go, because power and growth comes from owning your agency. And owning your agency, in part, comes from taking responsibility. And it's not to say that external factors don't matter. They absolutely do, especially in our current environment. As we're recording, it's a very difficult job market. And it's certainly not to say that your professional challenges are your fault, because whatever situation you've landed yourself in that has you in my virtual office today, you made the best decisions that you could with the skills and the tech and the resources that you had at the time. It's to say that we don't have control over external factors. You only have control over yourself. And regardless of the context that you find yourself in, there are opportunities, and you have a responsibility to yourself to make the best choices that are available to you to improve your circumstances. And so the clients who tend to struggle the most are the ones who are unable or unwilling to put in the work because of some of these blockers. Because like I said, coaching is not a magic wand, and I'm not a wizard. We are partners, we are collaborators. If you show up and do the work, I will show up for you every damn time with my pom-poms cheering like crazy, but you have to show up for yourself. So when a client is open to new approaches, has a clear why for wanting change, eager to grow, motivated to take consistent action, even if it is imperfect, we will have a great time and we will deliver some results. So if you see yourself in the characteristics listed on the left side of this slide, you are probably a really good candidate for coaching. If you have some of the issues on the right, that's okay, as long as you are open to us working on them. Ultimately, the ingredients for coaching success, no matter where you're starting or where you're trying to go, is a willingness to look inward and take responsibility, an openness to embracing new ideas, trying new things, exploring, experiment, taking risks, and a commitment to put in the work. Complete your worksheets, grind out those applications, prep for those interviews, and maintaining regular communication with your coach. Additionally, coaching success is specifically about, we got a vibe, right? We need to like each other. We need to have a good rapport. We need to trust each other and build a really strong working relationship as coach and client. So now let's talk about the coaching process from start to finish. We're going to break it down step by step. Earlier, we discussed the sort of 4 different approaches to coaching: the inner work versus outer work, past focus versus future focus. These approaches can show up anywhere in the coaching journey, but the coaching process itself has 3 main stages. First, there's the brainstorming stage, where we identify the problems we want to address. We work through your problem statements, we prioritize them, we determine the most important goal. Then we identify any sub-goals that support your main career objective. And then we want to acknowledge but deprioritize any less critical or less urgent issues so that we can really focus your special, precious, and limited energy on achieving the primary goal that's in front of you. And so remember our problem statements from before. In the brainstorming stage of the career coaching journey, we need to identify the problems that we want to solve right now. We can only solve problems that we've identified and articulated. Now, it is totally okay and common to have multiple issues that you want to work on. If some of those problems are close to your primary problem, we might be able, and we might even need to work on some of them at the same time. So for example, if your main issue is job search, we might also need to address number 5, not getting callbacks, or number 9, updating your LinkedIn profile to attract LinkedIn recruiters and hiring managers that are on LinkedIn looking for talent. However, number 12, deciding whether to start your own business, might not be the highest priority. So once we've decided which ones to tackle now, which ones to revisit later, we can work backward to create an action plan. And that brings us to the second stage, the planning stage. We have diagnosed the problem, and so now we need to prescribe a solution. The prescription for a career challenges tend to have 3 parts. First is the strategic part, where we're looking at the big picture. Where are we trying to go? What are the key milestones that we need to achieve to get there? And it's usually not a simple 1-2 step. And so we do need to identify those sub goals too. The second part is tactical. What are the actual individual actions that you need to take to reach your end goal? We have to do the things to get to the place. But just because we know what things need to be done doesn't mean we will do them. There are a reason why my dishes aren't done right now. That third part is mental. We need to understand what thoughts or feelings might arise as we execute those day-to-day tactics, and how they might hinder your project. A little crowd participation here, maybe. If you have ever procrastinated or avoided a task you knew you needed to do because it felt overwhelming, go ahead and raise your hand. This is me and my dishes. And if you have ever skipped out on applying to a job that you knew you were excited about because you felt insecure about your qualifications, raise your hand. I have done this as well in my career. And tell me, I'm curious if you have Ever lost your motivation to work on a professional goal because you knew you wanted the goal, but you were comparing yourself to other people, and so you delayed getting started? I raised my hand for that one as well. Probably should have started coaching before I did. These are examples of sort of mental sludge that keeps you from taking action and moving forward towards your goal. So a good coach is not just going to give you a roadmap and a to-do list. A good coach is going to be on the lookout for those mindset issues to help you get them out of your way so that you can take the action that you need to take. Speaking of taking action, the next stage is moving into the execution phase. That is the doing. We have to actually implement the steps in our plan to reach our goal. Now, coaching is especially helpful here because no plan survives contact with reality intact. Things will come up. Having someone to talk to about these challenges along the way can help you get back on track if those curveballs really throw you for a loop. And if your goals change, we can always go back to the planning stage, adjust your plan to align with those new objectives. So this is what a coaching journey looks like when it's translated into my services. We begin with a starter session where we do the brainstorming stage to identify your challenges, your goals, your obstacles. And then next we tend to transition into a 60-minute session for the planning phase. And that's where we will develop a detailed action plan to overcome any obstacles that we identified and to make sure that you are taking regular action and moving towards your goals. And then finally, we enter the execution phase where you implement the plan with ongoing support. Now, this could be through course materials, this could be through individual coaching sessions, this could be small group coaching sessions through text or through texting me, voice noting me through my coaching app. Now, this is the most common journey, but it is not the only one. Some people have their starter session and feel perfectly ready to move on their own. Others might need the starter session in the 60-minute session, but not need more than that. There are lots of people who go through this entire journey. I have very intentionally designed this portfolio of services to be as flexible as possible because everyone is different. There are no big packages. You're no long programs. You're not hooked into anything. It is for you and I to figure out exactly what kinds of services are going to be most helpful for you and are going to fit best in your budget. Now, most people do come to coaching and expecting to work like therapy where you pay on a session-by-session basis, and sessions are great. But with coaching, we have more flexibility in terms of format, and we can go beyond hour-long sessions to adapt the modality of support so it matches your specific needs, goals, and budget at the time. So let's explore the 4 services that I offer and how we can mix and match to create the coaching service that's perfectly tailored for you. So each client is unique. You are unique. So we have 3 ways of working together. And so no matter what you got going on, there are coaching options for you. First, you can download my brain by accessing my course library. Second, you can get on my calendar for a live coaching session. We'll talk about that next. And then lastly, and which I think most excitingly, you can talk to me regularly, and I mean 24/7, 365 through my coaching app. But let's start with talking about a starter session. No matter where you are in your coaching journey or your career transition, the starting place is a starter session. These 30-minute sessions are available on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern. And they are coaching sessions. They are not sales pitch. This is a sales pitch. So if you buy a starter session, I'm 100% focused on helping you with your problems. And I am 0% focused on selling you something. So during that session, we're going to work through your current situation. We're going to articulate your problems. We're going to sketch out potential solutions. We're also going to try to predict any obstacles, whether mental or logistical, that might hinder your progress. Then after the conversation, you'll get a session summary so that you can hold on to any of the insights that came out of your session and go back to it to review any juicy nuggets that you want to come back to. Now, again, this is a coaching session. It is not a sales pitch. It is a genuine coaching session aimed at understanding your needs and helping you see the way forward and take those first few steps. We don't talk about follow-on services unless you ask about it. It's not a sales pitch. It's a coaching session. That's going to be enough of a coaching experience for you to assess whether you need coaching at all and whether I'm the right coach for you. If it makes sense for us to work together, I will follow up with you afterward with specific recommendations for the services based on what we talk about, and there's absolutely no pressure for you to buy. If I'm not the right person for you, or if it's not the right time, I will let you know, and I will point you in the direction of the best resources that I know of. Now, The biggest question that I get about starter sessions is their length. Is 30 minutes enough time to have a meaningful conversation? And the answer is absolutely yes. Trust me, I am a pro. I promise we can cover enough ground to make a good start on the bullets that you see here. A starter session is the best way for us to get to know each other and for you to have a high quality coaching experience without a long-term commitment. Now, at the end of a starter session, I usually try to ask, so how was this for you? And these are actual quotes from actual people who have had starter sessions with me. A half hour might not sound like it's a lot of time, but I know what I'm doing. And because I take time to prep in advance, you don't have to wait a single minute. We don't waste any time. We are in it the whole time. If you complete your intake form, which is optional, but I always recommend it, I spend time reading that all the way through. I check out your LinkedIn and I send you a session plan ahead of time. That means we can dive right in, right away, and actually start solving problems, not just chatting and exchanging context. And so even though it's a discounted first session, I show up as the absolute best version of myself as a coach because you've paid for my time and you deserve to get my best. And honestly, the reactions that I get here really say it all. People are surprised in a good way by how much we can get done in a 30-minute starter session. So what happens after a starter session? What happens after it ends? Well, it depends on how the session goes. You might not need coaching, or I might not be the right coach for you. And if that's the case, I will let you know and give you my best recommendations for next step. And if the match is really off, way, way, way off, I'll give you a refund whether you ask for it or not. However, if you have a career problem and you are thinking that it needs solving and we're a good fit, there are a bunch of ways that we can work together. If we need to dive into more complex issues, we might schedule a longer session. If it's more about hard skills related to career strategy, it might be more efficient for you to access my courses. Learning best practices through my course materials is a lot faster and a lot more cost effective than having me teach you these things one by one in one-on-one sessions like a tutor. But if that is your preferred way to learn, we can absolutely do it in sessions as well. But if you need support while executing your career transition plan on like the day-to-day basis, then our app-based coaching is going to be best fit for you because it allows us to talk on a day-to-day basis, regardless of whether you have time on my calendar or not. And so I'm going to walk you through these options so that you can see what a full coaching journey might look like. Standard session is 60 minutes. I do offer half sessions for $149 each, available on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. They include a session summary like the starter. However, these are best for my busiest clients who really just cannot spare more than 30 minutes, or for clients who have a very narrowly focused issue that they want to discuss. But for most people, a 60-minute session is usually more appropriate. In our starter session, we often tackle really big, complex, overwhelming problems. And for most people, the best way to make it less overwhelming is to break the problem down. And so when you book a 60-minute session, I send you a coaching exercise based on our initial starter session. And then you can dump your thoughts into a custom made for you, guided, structured prompt that will help you organize your thoughts in a way that helps you feel clearer about it, but also helps me understand you better. Again, trying to make the most of our time. I do ask that you send me the exercise 2 business days ahead of time because that gives me enough time to review it thoroughly, plan our session, and send you a session plan. And clients consistently find that just having a tailored, personalized reflection exercise sparks all sorts of really helpful aha moments before they even have a session. And then the session itself is highly productive because we spend all of our time solving the problem instead of explaining the problem. And again, availability is Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. So all of that, preparing your exercise, reviewing it once it's completed, planning your session, hanging out with you for an hour, and being available for 2 weeks after for any follow-up questions that you might have, is $249 per session. And those sessions are a la carte. You're not on the hook for a certain number of sessions or particular length of program. You can pick one up at any time, and there's no obligation to continue with coaching after you have completed your session. I want to show you the 3 most common use cases for 60-minute sessions. By far, the most common use case is a career clarity session. And so if you are thinking things like, I want to make a career transition, but I don't know where to go. I'm feeling really burnt out. I don't know if I should switch careers. That is probably clarity session territory. We would start with an exercise that covers your career highs and lows, ideas that you're considering, your priorities, your deal breakers for your next chapter, really organizing all of that, not in your brain, but on paper. And then during the session, we'll use that information to guide you toward a direction that you can choose for yourself and put together an action plan. The next most common scenario is a mock interview. This is for people who are getting callbacks, but are just not quite getting across the finish line. And in this scenario, the pre-work is all mine. You send me your application materials and the job description, and I create a set of interview questions and answer criteria. The session itself is split in half. The first half is the mock interview, where I play the interviewer and you play the candidate yourself. And then the last half is the debrief, where we go question by question. I give you notes on your performance, things that you did really well, things that I would want you to make adjustments on. And then afterward, you get the recording so that you can review your performance and then my suggestions. I send you the full question list, including all of the answer criteria, and then all of the guidance that is necessary to answer all of those questions well. The last option, the last most common use case is the promotion strategy session. If you're looking to advance in your company, or if you're getting ready for a performance review, this is one for you. We'll focus on understanding your organization's landscape and building a really strong case for your performance, for a promotion or a raise, whatever it is that your goals are for that performance review conversation. You'll provide context about your situation ahead of time, and then during the session, we would plan the strategy, we would plan the timeline, and then post-session, I can offer further feedback if needed. Now, these are the three most common uses for a 60-minute session, but again, you can use it for any career issues. These are just the ones that are the most common. They are incredibly versatile. I love sessions. I've had clients use them for working sessions to just get over procrastination. We've spent time completing materials, co-collaborating and co-working on their job applications or coaching exercises or LinkedIn profiles, brainstorming copy for their portfolio websites. Sessions are also great for discussing complex workplace issues like interpersonal conflict or managing up or finding a better work-life balance. Literally just having the time booked on your calendar will make it so much easier to prioritize putting time into your career, especially if you have a hard time prioritizing yourself in general because you are juggling lots of responsibilities like caregiving, or if you just kind of struggle with motivation or procrastination. I love sessions. They offer tons of benefits, but they do have some limitations. Remember, we talked about the 3 stages of the coaching journey: brainstorming, planning, and then execution, where we implement the plan. Once we reach the execution phase, the limitations of sessions really start to show up and can honestly become quite a hindrance. There is no way to predict how things are going to play out once you start taking action on your plan. And something might come up where you need pretty immediate support, but we might not be able to get our schedules to align for a conversation, or you might need to learn skills or get iterative feedback, which sessions really aren't the best venue for. Now, most of the projects that I work on with clients are pretty big, slow-moving projects, and job search is certainly not something that you can resolve in an hour. Job searches take weeks or months. They definitely don't take hours. And so if you want to be able to go back and forth on a job application or updating your LinkedIn profile, it will be much better if we're able to work separately and together as needed to get all of it done than trying to get all of it done in just one session or in a handful of sessions. Another situation is that sometimes unexpected situations come up suddenly. So for example, if you get a job offer on a random Thursday, you need immediate support to decide what your response is going to be, what your counteroffer is going to be, how you're going to negotiate. And it doesn't help you to wait a week and a half for the next open slot on my calendar. Another situation that highlights some of the limitations between scheduled sessions is interpersonal conflict and other types of workplace issues, where situations evolve very unpredictably and on an ongoing basis. And so scheduled sessions are just not the most practical way to provide support when something new is happening every day. And so if you think about how you would collaborate with a coworker on a project, you wouldn't try to do the whole thing live in a meeting. You do some of the work separately, you do some of it together, and then you'd be communicating throughout the entire project as it evolves over time. And so that is why I have created a month-to-month coaching program with 2 tiers to make these situations a little bit easier to deal with once we get out of the session environment. Now, this membership is specifically designed to address the downsides that we just discussed, while also creating much more budget-friendly ways to access coaching. It is exclusively on Patreon, and it has 2 tiers, and I'm going to take a second to tell you about both. The entry-level tier is the office hours tier. It includes access to my course library, weekly office hours for any questions you might have, and this tier is $99 a month and operates on a month-to-month basis, so you can cancel anytime. There is no long-term commitment required. So let's quickly dig into what comes with this membership. First, let's talk about the course library. So there are 3 main courses that you'll have access to. The Job Seekers Vault covers everything related to job search from start to finish. The Professional Branding Vault focuses on LinkedIn and networking, which is essential at every career stage. And AI for Job Seekers helps you use tools like ChatGPT to streamline your job search without compromising your authentic voice, your privacy, or your effectiveness. All of the office hours replays are in the locker, and that covers questions from past and present all the way back to the beginning of this program in May of 2023. So in total, over 250 hours lessons of support for your career transition. If you have a career question, it is covered in the course library. And if it's not, you can always ask in office hours and get direct support from me live in a safe, supportive, small group environment. So what are office hours? These are weekly 30-minute group coaching sessions, and office hours are split into 2 parts. The first half is a deep dive into a career topic or community submitted question. We spend 10-15 minutes getting really into it. And then the second half is open Q&A, where anyone can ask questions about the day's lessons, something from the course library, or whatever career issue is on their minds that day. And since it's a small group, 5 to 10 people, usually closer to 6 or 7. This ensures that you have plenty of time and access to me for questions. You will not be just another face in the mosaic. You will have ample opportunity to ask whatever you need, especially if you're willing to be the first one to raise your hand. And it's a group that's made of really good people. It is a safe environment where your questions can help others and their questions can help you. And that is so special because working through career challenges can feel so isolating. But being part of a safe community, that really reduces that feeling of isolation and lowers the cost of coaching because you are sharing that experience with others. As of this recording, office hours are scheduled on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern to accommodate as many time zones and schedules as we can. And as I mentioned, it's half lesson, half Q&A. The entire recording is uploaded to your course library. And so if you can't make it live, you can always go back and ask questions. And there's also a form where you can submit questions if you have them, but can't attend live. So for $99 a month at the office hours tier of my Patreon, you get access to my full course library with over 250 career strategy lessons, weekly career coaching sessions with me in a small group setting. But I also wanted to talk about 3 bonuses that are included with your membership. The first is a free 15-minute one-on-one coaching chat. The office hours tier does not include one-on-one coaching, but I've added this chat as a bonus opportunity. You can use it at the beginning for introducing yourself or addressing a few initial burning questions, or you can save it for a later time when you need one-on-one support or something is urgent. Another bonus is that you get free access to my live workshops. I do host paid workshops occasionally. They can cost up to $150, and members of the office hours tier can attend these live workshops for free, and the replays are also permanently added to the course library. Another bonus is a permanent price lock, and so if you join today at $99 a month, your price will remain the same no matter how many new features, benefits, or content are added to this tier. And don't forget, new content is being added every single week, so it only gets more valuable over time. So a ton of value packed into this office hours coaching membership at a very compact price of $99 a month. The membership is worth way more than I'm charging for it, and that is intentional. I believe career coaching should be accessible to all, and this is my best attempt at packing the most of the coaching value I can into an accessible price. But what if you want a higher touch coaching experience, regular conversations, full resume reviews, detailed LinkedIn profile for feedback? If you want one-on-one support on an ongoing basis, that's available at the premium tier of my Patreon, the Pocket Coaching tier. The Pocket Coach tier is the premium tier on my Patreon. That makes one-on-one coaching available to you on a day-to-day basis. It includes all of the features that we just discussed. And it also includes unlimited access to me through our coaching app. You can message me anytime about whatever career coaching question you need help with. And this tier also includes unlimited reviews of your application materials, your LinkedIn profile. It is the only place where you can get personalized feedback on your resumes and cover letters from me. You can send me every single application you submit. And like the office hours tier, it is month to month. So you can join for the support you need. You can downgrade to the office hours tier, or you can cancel wherever it makes sense for you. And so I want to go really quickly to go a little bit deeper on this service. Pocket Coach is exactly what it sounds like. You have me in your pocket to get coaching whenever you need. You can send me text messages, you can send me voice notes, images, screenshots about your day-to-day career questions and job search questions. The clients who message me regularly, as soon as something comes up, even when things feel jumbly, those are the folks who get the best results out of this service. And it ends up being the equivalent of meeting weekly, but instead of trying to do everything in a session, we are spreading the conversation across the week. So we're addressing things as they come up. And so you're getting support right when you need it versus having to play calendar jujitsu. And you can message me 24/7, 365 through the coaching app. Now, I respond during my business hours, which is Tuesday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. But the purpose of this service is to make sure that you have an active collaborator in your career transition. And I really encourage my clients to reach out as soon as something comes up. So don't wait until you feel like it's all organized in your head. Don't wait until I'm back in the office so as not to bother me. As you implement your career transition plan, things are going to come up. And this is designed to make sure that when things come up, you get support. The first person that I want to tell you about who used this service is Kathy. We worked together on her job search, and we got to a point where she was juggling several interview processes simultaneously. She had a lot of anxiety about following up and replying to recruiters and hiring managers in the process, what to say, how to say it, when to say it, anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. And this was a situation where timely support was really critical for her mental state and for the effectiveness of her job search. And so instead of waiting for a scheduled session, she could text me screenshots of the emails that she was concerned about or forward them to me. She expressed both of her goals and also her nerves in her voice note, and she got the feedback that she needed promptly. So sometimes we would work on helping her draft things or refine a draft that she's already started on so she could get those emails out the door the same day. And it significantly reduced her anxiety and improved her communication with the hiring team. And she did ultimately end up getting a job at Netflix. The next person I want to talk to you about is Aaron. Aaron came to me very overwhelmed and burnt out from his demanding startup job where he was working nearly 7 days a week. It was making him miserable. And what he really wanted was to start up his own business so that he could control his schedule, but he was really afraid to make the leap without the proven idea. And he just didn't feel like he had time to even start. And so we set the goal of reclaiming his personal time from his job so that he could start his business as a side hustle. And so in the first session, we developed a work-life balance plan, and then we worked on managing his anxiety so that he could do little time reclamation experiments without endangering his job performance. And so we used Pocket Coaching as a work-life balance laboratory. And this approach helped him gradually reduce his workload to much more manageable, closer to 40 hours a week. And as a result, he was able to reclaim his time and start his event planning side hustle. And now he works full-time planning parties and events. Another person I want to tell you about is Krista. We were working on her job search while she was still employed. But midway through, she started getting really anxious about potential layoffs. She used Pocket Coaching to keep me updated daily on like the office vibe, unexpected meetings, rumors. And this allowed her to express her concerns without burdening her husband, who was also struggling with his own anxiety about the possible layoffs. And so she found it really helpful to have a place to vent about what was going on that wasn't her husband. And it prevented a lot of additional stress and conflict that was happening at home. And so I, as an expert, could help her figure out what to do next without her putting more stress on her relationship. Fortunately, the situation resolved positively. The weird vibe was because the company was being acquired, and that actually ended up being financially beneficial for her. But because she was supported during those uncertain weeks, we were able to prepare for these possible layoffs, but also supporting her mental health and the health of her marriage. The last person I want to talk to you about is Sam. We worked together on his job search. We worked really hard on this particular application process every step of the way, from a custom resume to doing mock interview session. And so I wasn't really surprised at all when he told me that he got the offer, but the timing was really challenging because I was actually traveling for a conference when the offer came in. And while I generally try to stick to business hours when responding to Pocket Coaching messages, Clients do have a fire alarm that they can pull when they need help immediately because there's an emergency. And this was absolutely one of those situations. Negotiating a job offer is something that requires precision and timeliness. And so Sam would have been much worse off if he would have had to wait for me to get back into the office for a session. And so he used the emergency protocol, and we communicated very actively during that 4-day negotiation period. We were exchanging voice notes while I drug my carry-on through LAX, and I was giving him tons of feedback on the email correspondence that he was working on as I popped between conference panels. And when emergency protocol is activated, I really do everything that I can to help a client get where they need to go. Ultimately, we got really close, not exactly to, but really close to his target package. He accepted the job, and he's having a great experience at this company. And so this is a really useful tool that gives us a lot more flexibility about what we can accomplish and how we can approach it in career coaching. So we have 4 very different services, and I want to really quickly remind you how they work together to create that cohesive coaching journey that results in success for the client. We start with that starter session where we're doing that brainstorming, and then we shift into a longer session for that planning. And then as that action plan is going into effect, we hang out either at the office hours tier or at the pocket coaching tier to make sure that you are getting the support that you need to execute on a day-to-day basis for your coaching journey. So you could end up with a coaching journey like this if you wanted to, but right now there's only one choice that you need to make. Do you want to have a starter session? Decide if you'd like to hang out with me for a half hour, discuss your current challenges, talk about some potential solutions. This initial conversation is completely obligation free. You are not committed to anything beyond this session. And so what would make the conversation worth $99 for you? People who come into my virtual office for starter sessions are often questioning whether their concerns are valid. So would it be worth it if a starter session put your mind at ease that your career concerns are actually totally normal, totally valid? Would that be worth it? What about for the folks who are confident that their solutions are valid, but feel really stuck, or overwhelmed, pessimistic about their situation? They question whether their aspirations are even feasible. Would it be worth it if you left that starter session knowing that your career goals are achievable? Would it be worth it if you walked away with a clear action plan for reaching your goals? Would that make it worth it? Now, I understand that it is completely intimidating to sit down for a conversation like this for a lot of folks, and you might be skeptical about whether it's this big secret sales pitch. It's not. This is the sales pitch. Some coaches do operate that way. I don't. So starter sessions are not sales pitches. They are coaching sessions. And if you decide that it's worth $99 to get confirmation that your career concerns are valid, affirmation that your career goals are possible, and a specific action plan on how to achieve them, you can walk away if that's all you need, because you're not on the hook for anything else. All you have to do today is decide if it's worth $99. If so, I would love for you to click the link and schedule some time on my calendar so that we can get started. Now, before we go, I want to leave you with one last message. Another common thing that I hear when people end up in my virtual office is, I wish I would have done this a long time ago. And that's why I want to leave you with this. Whatever it is that you're going through right now, whatever it is that brought you to my website or my articles or my social media, whatever brought you to this presentation, if you've been dealing with it for 3 months or more and not getting the results you want, it's probably time to do something different, because the time will pass regardless. You can spend it on your current path and getting the same results, or you can try something new and get a new result. And maybe that different thing is expert support. Maybe it's something else, but do something different, because the time will pass regardless, and you will not get different results for doing the same thing. So if you've made it to the end of the presentation, thank you. Your time is so precious, and I'm so grateful that you've chosen to spend the time with me. And this confirms that career coaching probably is right for you. If it wasn't, you would have left by now. You'd have thought this isn't for me, and you would have moved on. So if something is telling you that we should work together, I'd love to see you on my calendar. All right, that's it for today. And so we have a little bonus for the folks who have stuck around all the way to the end. And so we're going to take a big, nice, juicy screenshot of our attendees who are still here today. And each of you are going to get an email from me that gives you access to my secret black book of resume templates that are my favorites, the one that I send to all of my clients. And if that is helpful for you, that's going to make me smile nice and big. We are at the end of our scheduled time, and so I understand if you got to go, but I do want to stick around if anybody has any questions.
Phoebe, I just wanted to say I've been following your journey since 2020, and I'm just so proud to see how far you've come and really looking forward to any work we can do together. I always refer my friends to you. So,
oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you to say. Thank you. Thanks for the claps, Kelly. Thank you. Well, it looks like maybe we don't have any questions today. You are all also completely welcome to email me if you have any questions as well. You can, my email is phoebe@betterwithphoebe.com, but you can also reply to any of the emails that you've received from me so far, and I would love to answer your questions. It sounds like we're going to go ahead and close out on time today. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me and staying until the end. Amazing. You will receive the link to the Black Book of Resume Templates tomorrow. Oh, Elena has a question. Please go ahead and ask.
Okay. Not necessarily a question, more of a comment. Like, I already know that I want to work with you. It's just a financial struggle at this point. So just throwing that out there.
I completely understand. It is really tough to be in that sort of situation. And that is the reason why I try to make as much good content out on the internet for free as well. That's why I try to pack as much good stuff into my newsletter and onto my social media as well. But if we do get the opportunity to work together, I will make sure that we make the absolute most of every dollar you spend. Thank you so much for even being interested. That still means the most to me. Anybody else have any thoughts or questions before we close out? All right, thank you all so much. Look for that email tomorrow with your special gift, and I will see you all on my calendar soon sometime. Bye, everybody.